I don't even remember how it started. One minute, Noah was holding me, that familiar, safe warmth I'd known for years, and the next, I was shoving him away. He looked confused, hurt even. I can still see the way his hand froze midair, like he wasn't sure if he was allowed to touch me anymore. And I heard myself say it, words that came out like poison before I could stop them. "You always sexualize me. It's disgusting." The second I said it, I wanted to take it back. But the damage was done. He went quiet, not angry quiet, just hollow. Like something inside him had been switched off. He whispered, "Ash, what?" And I didn't answer. I just turned away, crossed my arms, and stared at the floor like a coward. The silence that followed was worse than any fight we'd ever had. No shouting, no slamming doors. Just silence. And from that moment, everything between us started to rot. At first, I told myself I was justified. That I was tired of him looking at me like that. But if I'm being honest, and I need to be honest now, it wasn't disgust I felt. It was fear. Because Noah loved me in a way I didn't know how to handle. His eyes saw too much, too deeply. He wanted all of me, not just the good parts. And when someone loves you that hard, you either open yourself up completely, or you panic and burn it down. I chose the fire. After that night, he stopped touching me altogether. Stopped reaching for my hand, stopped brushing my hair behind my ear, stopped looking at me like I was his world. And every time I passed him in the hallway, I wanted to say I'm sorry. But I couldn't. The words got stuck in my throat, tangled in my pride and guilt. He'd ask about groceries, about bills, about the weather, the most ordinary things in the world, and every word felt like a negotiation between strangers pretending to still be married. I used to crave his presence. Now, I couldn't stand the quiet weight of it. He started sleeping on his side of the bed, back turned, breathing slow and steady like he was trying to dream of another life. And I hated myself for missing him while being the one who made him pull away. Sometimes, late at night, I'd reach for him in the dark, but stop halfway. Because I could feel that invisible line between us. A line I drew myself with that one cruel sentence. The house that once felt alive, full of warmth and laughter, turned into something sterile. Like a museum of our marriage. Photos on the walls, plates in the cabinets, but no heartbeat left between them. The irony is, I wanted him to fight back. To yell, to demand answers, to shake me and ask what was wrong. But Noah never did. He just faded. Slowly, quietly, like a candle burning itself out. And the quieter he became, the louder my thoughts got. I started overanalyzing everything, the way he moved, the way he looked at the floor when I spoke. Every small silence became proof that I'd ruined him. But instead of fixing it, I built more walls. Told myself he didn't care. Told myself maybe he was never as good as I thought. Because it was easier to blame him than to face what I'd done. If you told me back then that love could die without either person cheating or leaving, I wouldn't have believed you. But that's exactly what happened. Love died quietly between us, smothered by pride and silence. And the worst part? I was the one who killed it, and I didn't even mean to. Weeks passed after that night, and the air between us turned heavy. We stopped talking about anything that mattered. I'd wake up, hear Noah moving around the kitchen, smell the coffee, and stay in bed a little longer because I didn't know how to face him anymore. When I finally came out, he'd hand me a mug like always, but his eyes never lingered. That used to be my favorite part of mornings, those quiet glances that said we're us. Now they were gone. I told myself it would fade, that we'd slip back into our old rhythm. But the silence didn't fade. It thickened. Every untouched kiss, every unspoken word built another wall. One night, I heard him in the shower. Water running, the sound of him sighing. I stood outside the door, hand on the handle, thinking maybe I could just walk in and say something simple like, "Do you remember when we used to sing in there?" But I didn't. I just stood there until the water stopped, then hurried to the living room like I'd never been there. When he walked out, towel around his neck, he gave me that polite smile again. That smile hurt more than anger ever could. The guilt started crawling under my skin. Every corner of the house whispered this was your fault. I tried distracting myself, work, errands, scrolling through photos of us from years ago. He used to look at me like I was sunlight. Now, in the reflection of my phone screen, I looked more like a shadow. I thought about apologizing 100 times. But every time I pictured saying the words, my chest tightened. Because if I admitted it out loud, if I said I was wrong, I'd have to face the fear that maybe he'd already stopped loving me. So I didn't. I just kept pretending. Then came the night he sat at the kitchen table long after dinner, staring at nothing. The TV was off, the lights dim. I leaned against the counter, watching him, wondering if he even noticed I was there. Finally, he spoke. His voice was calm, too calm. I think I need some space for a while. My heart stuttered. What do you mean? He looked up, and for the first time in months, his eyes met mine. There was no anger, no accusation, just exhaustion. I don't hate you, Ash. I just don't know how to be around you right now. It felt like the ground opened beneath me. I wanted to beg him not to go, to say I'd fix it, to scream please don't leave. But pride, that cruel thing that always gets between love and healing, held my tongue. So I nodded. And he packed a small bag the next morning. When the door closed, the silence was unbearable. Noah's absence filled every inch of the apartment. The smell of his cologne on the pillow, his mug in the sink, his toothbrush still in the holder, it all mocked me. I sat on the floor by the couch, knees pulled to my chest, staring at the empty hallway. And for the first time, I didn't try to blame him. I whispered to no one. I did this because I finally understood. He hadn't left to punish me. He'd left to save what little was left of himself. The first night after Noah left, I didn't sleep. The apartment was too quiet. Every sound, the refrigerator hum, the clock ticking, felt like proof that he wasn't there. I made coffee at 3 in the morning just to have something warm in my hands. His mug, not mine. It still had that faint chip on the handle. It's strange how grief hides in details like that. I kept expecting him to text, to call, to ask if I was okay. He didn't. Days passed, and the silence between us became a mirror I didn't want to look into. Because for once, it wasn't him shutting down. It was me who had built the wall, brick by brick. I tried to fill the emptiness with noise, music, TV, scrolling, but nothing worked. At night, I'd lie in bed and replay every version of us. Our first date under flickering cafe lights, the road trip where we sang off-key for hours, the morning he made me pancakes shaped like hearts. It all felt like scenes from someone else's life. I started going through old photos. There was one of him asleep on the couch, arm dangling, face relaxed in a way it never was anymore. I stared at it until my chest hurt. That was the man who used to reach for me first, who believed love was something you gave without fear. And I was the one who taught him to doubt that. Weeks later, I saw him again by accident at a cafe near my office. He was sitting alone, reading, sunlight across his face. He looked peaceful. That's what broke me. He looked okay without me. I almost walked up to him, almost said something simple like hi. But I stopped at the door, heart pounding. Because what would I even say? Sorry? No. That word was too small now. Too late. So I watched him for a few seconds longer, memorized the calm in his shoulders, and left before he could see me. Back home, the apartment felt colder than ever. I turned on every light, opened every window, but the air stayed heavy. That's when it hit me, I didn't want forgiveness. I wanted him back. Even if the love between us was cracked, even if he never looked at me the same way again, I wanted to be near him. The next morning, I packed a bag. No grand plan, no speech prepared. I just went. Because I couldn't stay in the silence any longer. When he opened the door, he looked surprised but not shocked, like he'd been waiting for something inevitable. I didn't say sorry. I didn't explain. I just stepped inside, set my bag down, and said quietly, "I missed you." He nodded once. Then he said, "The curtains look different." And just like that, I was home again. Except it didn't feel like home. It felt like walking through a memory that didn't fit anymore. Living with Noah again feels like walking through fog. Everything's familiar, yet blurred at the edges. The kitchen still smells like coffee and cinnamon in the mornings. He still hums when he's shaving. But the warmth that used to linger between us, it's thin now, like smoke that's already halfway gone. He doesn't touch me the way he used to. Not out of anger or bitterness, just absence. His hands move around me, not toward me. And I don't reach out either. Because part of me knows, once you've broken something inside someone, even love doesn't move the same way anymore. We eat dinner together, but it's quiet. Not the peaceful kind of quiet. The kind that makes you aware of every clink of a fork, every breath between sentences. Sometimes he asks about work. Sometimes I ask if he's sleeping okay. And then we both go back to silence, pretending that routine equals reconciliation. I still don't say sorry. Not because I'm proud, because it feels meaningless now. Sorry doesn't undo nights I made him feel small. It doesn't unmake the distance I created piece by piece, convinced he'd always wait. Maybe some things don't need to be apologized for, maybe they just need to be lived with. One evening, he comes home later than usual. I'm sitting on the couch, scrolling through my phone, pretending not to care how late it's gotten. When he walks in, he smells like rain and perfume, not mine. He looks tired, eyes shadowed. He nods at me, says, "Did you eat?" I nod. He goes straight to the shower. And I just sit there, staring at the door he closed between us. Something burns behind my ribs, but I don't move. Because I know what's happening. He's doing what I did once, pulling away, quietly, methodically, until there's nothing left to pull. The next few days, he's distant in a way that feels practiced. Gentle, polite, almost kind, but detached. And for the first time, I understand what he must have felt all those months I made him chase my silence. The exhaustion of trying to love someone who's already somewhere else in their mind. At night, I lie awake beside him. His back turned, breathing slow. I whisper things into the dark that I can't say when he's awake. I thought you'd always stay. I thought I was the one in control. I didn't know love could rot quietly. He never stirs. Maybe he's asleep. Maybe he hears me and pretends not to. Days bleed into weeks. We start existing beside each other instead of with each other. Our house feels like a museum of what we used to be. Every framed photo on the wall is a ghost. Every morning kiss that doesn't happen feels like a reminder that we're keeping up appearances. And still, he doesn't leave. He's there. Kind, steady, unblinking. Like he's waiting for something. Or maybe just waiting for me to realize it's over. It's strange how you can live beside someone and still miss them. He's right there brushing his teeth, folding his shirts, sipping his coffee across from me, but every movement feels rehearsed, like we're actors repeating lines from a play we once believed in. There's a rhythm to our silence now. We've stopped trying to fix it. Maybe that's the saddest part, not the fights, not the distance, but the quiet acceptance that this is what we've become. He's gentle. Always has been. Even when he's pulling away, he does it softly, as if not to startle me. That's who Noah is. That's who I forgot to see. One night, I come home late. He's sitting on the balcony, the city lights painting his face in gold and shadow. He doesn't look up when I open the door. For a while, I just stand there, watching him breathe, wondering if he knows I came back not because I wanted to fix things, but because I couldn't stand being alone with what I'd done. You used to talk to me, I say. He doesn't turn. You used to listen, he replies, voice calm, almost kind. The words sting, not because they're cruel, because they're true. There's nothing left to argue. We've both said all the wrong things, all the right ones too late. The next morning, he makes coffee for both of us. Sets my mug on the counter, the chipped one he never threw away. We drink in silence, and I think this is it. This is the last time it'll feel almost normal. I can feel it in the way he looks at me, not angry, not bitter, just done. Like he's finally laid down a weight he carried too long. He leaves that afternoon. No fight. No note. Just gone. Clothes missing from the closet, his toothbrush gone, his scent fading from the pillow before I even realize it's over. I don't chase him. For the first time, I understand that some endings aren't meant to be interrupted. Some people don't slam doors, they just stop standing in them. The apartment feels hollow again, but this time, it's different. It's not unbearable. It's honest. For once, the space reflects what's real instead of what I pretend to feel. I keep the mug. I keep the silence. And I keep the version of him that loved me before I taught him not to. Sometimes, I still see him in dreams. Always standing by the ocean, hands in his pockets, looking out at the horizon. He never turns around. I think he's happier there, wherever there is. And maybe that's enough. Because love doesn't always leave when people do. Sometimes it stays, quiet and unspoken, living in the spaces between what was said and what never could be. And that's where I find him. Not in forgiveness. Not in memory. But in the ache that taught me how to feel again. It's been a year since Noah left. A year since the door closed softly behind him and I stood there, frozen, with half a cup of cold coffee and too many things I never said. Grief doesn't vanish, it just changes shape. At first, it was sharp. Now it's soft, almost familiar, like an old bruise I've learned to live around. Some mornings I wake up and still reach for his side of the bed. But most days, I just smile at the empty space and whisper, I'm still here. I moved apartments a few months ago. New walls, new light, new everything. But I kept one thing from our old place, that chipped mug. It sits on my shelf now, holding dried lavender instead of coffee. It's funny how something so small can hold an entire chapter of your life. Sometimes I wonder if he ever thinks of me. If he ever drives past the street we lived on and feels that same ache in his chest. But then I remind myself, he doesn't have to. He gave me his love when it mattered, and I gave it back too late. And that's the truth I carry now, quietly, without shame. I don't hate who I was back then. I think that's growth. For a long time, I hated the version of me who pushed him away, who mistook pride for strength, silence for safety. But now I see her for what she was, someone scared of being seen too clearly. And Noah saw me clearer than anyone ever did. Sometimes, that's what love is, not forever, not perfect, just someone seeing you, completely, before you even understand yourself. I started painting again. It's messy, it's nothing special, but it feels real. There's one painting I keep tucked away, a skyline at dusk, a faint figure by the sea, hands in pockets. No face, no name. Just him, as he is in my memory, steady, distant, peaceful. I don't cry when I see it anymore. I just breathe. Because for all the hurt, for all the words left unsaid, I know one thing with absolute certainty. He loved me. And once, I loved him too, in my own broken, beautiful way. If I ever see him again, I won't say sorry. I won't say I miss you. I'll just smile and hope he knows that even though we didn't make it, we mattered. That's the thing about love. It doesn't always end with goodbye. Sometimes, it just becomes part of who you are. Quiet, permanent. Like the heartbeat that never really stops echoing.